Welcome to Design Build Workshop. Today we're going to talk about customizing the interior door panel of your Jeep TJ. This is a CAD drawing and the model of the first panel that I had designed and the one that's actually in the Jeep. So here's the completed door panel. This is the second one that I did. The first one was the passenger side, and I didn't quite get the vinyl right on the passenger side, so where it comes right here, it didn't quite wrap all the way. It was just because of the way I did it was not quite, the way you would do it, and that was why I had some issue with it. And the same thing with this here. When I cut this out on the other side, I didn't leave enough vinyl left over. So this one was a whole lot tighter, and I pulled a lot, harder when I was pulling this through to get it stuck to, the plastic. And so these parts came out really well. They're very clean. So I'm pretty happy with that, but I may change this still because I don't know if I like these screws that go in here. When this handle had to be put in, so this is a stiff handle compared to what's normally on the Jeep, which is that kind of that plastic rubber type stuff, very flexible. And once the panel's on, that original piece can be flexed. And so you just stick it through here and then you can put the screws in. With this one, because it's aluminum, it can't do that. So you can't flex it. So what I had to do is I had to make this in 3 parts. So I've got a right side, a left side, and then I've got a piece that's back here to add some thickness, which is actually good because it's a good, feels good in your hand. So what had to happen is this piece and then this piece had to be secured, or at least a screw put through it so that it lined up. So I cut the flange behind it so it would attach itself. Then this part back here, which is drilled and threaded for 1/4-20, could be attached with these 4 screws, and then the whole thing becomes one unit. I'm okay with these screws because that's kind of part of the detailing that I have throughout the Jeep anyway, where I've got these exposed stainless screws. Now these are black, and I did that because this is raw aluminum, so I wanted the contrast to go with it. I'm pretty happy with this. I think one of the things I may change eventually is to adjust the window lever so it is similar to this. That may come in the future. The other part, this trim up here, I liked it initially, but I think I could do a lot better job than what's on here right now. So that's probably going to change at some point, and then I may actually recovering the vinyl again, because when I take all this stuff off, it may have an issue. The back piece behind the Molle itself, when you cut out a big section like I did with the Dremel, now all of a sudden you've got this huge hole here. And the problem with that is that you see the interior of the door, right? When you've got that little pocket that originally comes with, the plastic door card, there's a little panel back there, a little black panel, so you don't see what's going on back there. But that's got to get removed when I put this Molle piece on here, because this is pretty large. So what I did was I created another plastic panel that covers the whole backside, and then covered that in the vinyl that matches this. So you've just got a little step back so that the Molle panel is still useful, still functional, because I can get the Molle back through here and feed it through. And so I can secure, this dump pouch in the med kit, or other, whatever else I want to put on here, I can still secure it on here, and I've got room to run the Molle through it without having the back or the interior part of the door exposed. Here are some images of actually cutting the material, or cutting the plastic away from the bottom of the door panel, and the piece fit over the top of it to kind of show what it's going to look like. And I think that I've already drilled those holes through the plastic here as well, where you can see the black piece in the background needs to expand, and here we are. I expanded it a little bit. Of course, this is very rough. I went ahead and tried some other components. And you can see right now I've got a piece of cardboard in the background, which is, replaced with a plastic piece that eventually gets covered with the vinyl as well. I went ahead and put it in the Jeep and tested it to make sure there was room for it to close. So I've got the vinyl on here and the panel in place. And here's kind of showing how that handle looks. You can see it's too wide to actually fit through those spots. So then I've got some finished images of it with nothing on it, of course. If you're enjoying this content, please like and subscribe. It would really help the channel, and I'd really appreciate it. One of the things that makes this job kind of easy is the simplicity of the tools that I ended up using. So I just used, a fairly inexpensive Dremel, and that's what I did, and used the cutoff wheel here. And that's what I used for cutting the plastic to clear the space for the Molle panel. Now, the only thing you have to remember is when you're cutting that plastic, it heats up and it melts pretty quickly. So either you take your time and do a couple passes and just make sure you're really careful so you don't start going off the line. And then, or the other thing is once I made a couple passes, then I kind of went back with a deeper cut. And then as soon as I started noticing it starting to get gummed up, then I would stop, peel off some of the stuff that was getting stuck on the door and then continue. And then once it was all completed, then basically it was just taking a file, some sandpaper, that kind of stuff, just to kind of smooth that area out. It didn't have to be perfect because I knew I was going to cover it with the vinyl, so I didn't, it didn't have to be super smooth or anything. It just had to be, not rough. This little Bondo spreader came in pretty handy, and I think I also used the card that you use because I did the wrap on this Jeep as well, and I got the little plastic, with the felt on it for wrapping the Jeep. I used that in this, so when I was doing the vinyl, I could tuck it inside the trim, right, and push it through. And so what that did is it allowed me to and I did not do that on the passenger side, and that's why I ran into trouble with that. So this was really handy as far as getting the vinyl into those areas that were really tight. And all I did was I made sure I had a little bit of vinyl left over when I wrapped up here. So probably about, maybe not quite a half inch, probably like, 3/8 of an inch. So that's what's kind of shoved back behind there. And that's got, contact cement that was put on the plastic of the door card and on the back side of the vinyl. And when you put it on, you just want to make sure that you're pulling everything fairly tight so you don't have any like big wrinkles that you got to deal with. Where you've got areas like this, that gets pretty hard because you got to pull it in really tight because that vinyl will only want to pull in so far. So the material can only stretch, but some. Because it's vinyl, it does stretch a little, but it does have that fabric in it, so you're dealing with that. But as far as the tools, pretty basic. I mean, this was the main tool that I used. And then filing, sanding, and then basically, doing this to tuck the vinyl. Of course, wherever there's a screw, I had to drill a hole through, so I had to use a drill. But that wasn't a big deal. And as far as laying it out, that was easy because this just was set on top of the panel and the holes were already done through here. So I just went ahead and marked them all so I could go through. One thing you want to make sure that you do if you are going to do something like this is that there are screws that hold this plastic panel to the door itself. And so you want to make sure you avoid those wherever you're putting these so you don't end up putting one on top of wherever another screw or where there's some kind of mechanical element back behind here. Luckily, this bottom part, there's not a whole lot going on. So this is pretty much open. And so drilling holes to secure these, these bolts through here, it's not a big deal. Thanks again for joining me on Design Build Workshop and the Jeep door panel build. If you like the channel, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time.